Hi, welcome to the Rant. I'm John Shannon. I wanted to kind of go into a little bit more from yesterday, last night when I was talking about the election and how race has become such a huge part of this election, seemingly because for the first time in I would say for the first time period, the last of course I know that Jesse Jackson attempted to run for president, but nobody took him seriously. And then back in the early 70s, a lady by the name of Shirley Chisholm also had ran, but she didn't garner little to any support. Barack Obama is really the first black presidential candidate that I think that any of us has really taken serious. And he is indeed a serious contender. And if you look at his policies, now, remember, I'm not a dyed-in-the-wool conservative like a lot of my friends are. So I'm willing to look at him with an open mind. I've always been I've always been a supporter of some sort of reforms with health care that go beyond tax cuts. And I guess part of the reason for that is quite frankly, I'm not the greatest at health myself. It's all self-induced, but nonetheless, I could sure use some help. I just don't have the money to go out and get the health insurance that, for a self-employed person, it's over, over $600, $700, $800 a month just to insure myself. Well, I can right now, it's not necessary because I'm taking maintenance drugs, and so I have to be just real careful. But I'm getting off in a tangent here. My point was getting at here is that I still really don't care much for the divisiveness that's being used. One of the things that I really admire about Barack, like I said yesterday, is that he doesn't really seem to be getting involved in the mudslinging as far as with Hillary there. Hillary is doing her damnedest, and not that I have a great deal of respect for her to begin with. There again, she was kind of the champion of the healthcare cause, so I had to pay some attention to her campaign. But the more I see her out here, the less I'm interested in her. I don't really care much for John Edwards, so if I'm looking at somebody from the Democratic side who can champion a workable health insurance plan, I guess Barack is going to be my guy if I lean that way. And I still haven't decided, because this is a dilemma for me as far as the general election is concerned, because there are issues out there that are just as important to me as the health care. Immigration reform, national security. As far as Iraq goes, well, I just assume we got the hell out of there, to be honest with you. I don't think that it should be a immediate cut and run. I think that we should start planning on phasing ourselves out of there. I do believe that our military is starting to get spread a little thin. There was one distinct difference. Now, I don't know how many men or women were in the armed services now as opposed to back back in the days of the Vietnam War. And let's face it, this is the closest thing we've had to Vietnam since Vietnam. I guess, sorry, I can't put it any better than that. But it is true that this is really the biggest conflict we've been in militarily since Vietnam. The big difference between then and now is back then our country had a draft to fall back on, and right now we don't have that draft, and consequently, I believe that our military is obviously for. I don't have the numbers in front of me to prove this. I'm just spitballing here. But it would just seem logical, because we don't have the draft, that we don't in our all-volunteer Army, we don't have the same numbers, and thus making a war such as this become more and more difficult. And like I said, we seem to be more and more spread out all over the country. All over the world. We seem to be more spread out. I'm just afraid that we are not going to be able to honor our commitments worldwide the way things are going. Boy, I'm getting off on tangents today. Anyhow, the key point that I want to make in all this is that we have some good people who've taken their time and effort and money to go after the highest office in the land. Now, you may not agree with their politics, with their principles, with their policies, but the fact remains that you can go all the way from Hillary to Ron Paul to Barack to Huckabee to any one of these candidates that's running on either side of the aisle. All of them in their own right are good people. And I believe that, and I really think that if we were to get out of the politics of divisiveness and address, put your issues out there. Put out there what you strongly support, what you strongly oppose, what you would do to make this country better, as opposed to what you think your opponent would do to make this country worse. Because I don't think any one of these individuals running would be a bad president. I don't think that George Bush is a bad president. I think that there's been some mistakes made along the way, but it doesn't make him a bad guy. Maybe he surrounded himself with people he could have gotten better advice. Who knows? I believe that President Bush is a man of his convictions, and anybody that wants to go out there and refer to him in such a negative manner, if you don't respect the man, at least respect the office. But folks, I guess that's my bottom line. I really would love to see a lot less divisiveness in politics. Of course, dream on, but one can always hope. I'm going to end it with that. I'll be back on the cam here in a day or two. Right now, of course, I'm out of my cab. This was just an impromptu thought. So I'm going to wrap it up for now. Folks, you have a great day. We will talk again. This is the Redneck Cabbie, John Shannon. Adios.